Like, I've never met anyone like you. You've never met anyone like me. And so we just really we saw our compatibility immediately.
Yeah.
And that was exciting. And so we wanted to do all the things together. It was almost like stepbrothers when they realized they actually liked each other. You know what I mean? Like, did we just realize, are we best friends? Hi, guys. Welcome to Stay Podcast.
I know. We're so cute. Yes, Stay stands for Steph and Jay.
Get ready to embark on a soul-stirring adventure that'll leave you inspired, encouraged, and equipped to live a life of purpose and fulfillment.
Listen in as we share our love story with honest conversations about the differences in men and women, how we are way different now in our mid-40s and with each other, and how to elevate your mind,
relationships,
business adventures,
and those around you.
I love
Let's
you, baby.
Go.
Hey. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 2 of Stay Podcast, baby.
Yeah.
You're a podcaster now.
Oh, man. We made it.
Yeah, with real followers and listeners.
Wow. Look at that, man. I am definitely at the top of the food chain now.
And like everybody's been just showing us so much love, and we are so very thankful about that.
Yeah, we just want to say thank you to everybody who's supporting us throughout this journey.
Yeah.
Who's just had our backs, man. And I agree. It's super exciting to watch.
This is super exciting, and there's just like a lot. Even just today, as I was on my way over here, like we just continue to be blessed and like see God working through us, and we know that this is something that we're supposed to do just to inspire hope for other people. And
Amen.
So we just really appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what's on the
the tablet?
notepad? What's on the tablet for today?
Isn't this so weird seeing me like all prepared
It
and
is.
like, what if I just did this in real life?
Oh man. Well,
You know what,
let's give it a shot.
The other day we were on the phone and I can't even remember what I said. I was like, baby, you're probably not going to be shocked, and you were like, oh, you shock me all the time. And then I said, yeah, I promise you'd never a dull moment. So
Yeah, for sure.
anyways, we thought just like to follow up our first episode, it would be a really good idea to kind of talk a little bit again about like how we are different with each other.
Yes.
Which we believe starts with communication.
Amen. Yeah. I mean,
Like
and
even if we don't get to the next topics today.
And it's so cliche, right, about communication,
Yeah.
right? Like you grow up hearing that communication is the key to, success in all relationships, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's just kind of like, duh.
Yeah.
But you don't realize that you don't know how to communicate until you actively, truly try to effectively communicate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just from the jump, like we'll get into that in a second. I do want to just say everything that we say here, if there's something that y'all need prayer over, whatever, reach out to us. We are not saying that we are perfect by any means.
Absolutely not.
We work through things though so well together. And so we hope to encourage you, whether you're younger or in your mid 40s, like we are, or maybe you are even a little bit older, whether you're single, you're married, whatever season you're in. We just think that we have not I don't know. I feel like we've kind of have really mastered specifically the communication part. And so I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah, it definitely gets better each time.
Yeah.
Right. We're learning more and more, and we're applying more. And so I'm just excited to share what we've learned with others. And let's see what you got on your little tablet of tricks there.
Okay.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
So first and foremost, I do want to reiterate that for us, we know without a shadow of a doubt that we are able to communicate so well because we're sober. Mm-hmm. This is the first time in my entire life that I've ever navigated any relationship sober, obviously romantic relationship or whatever. But I was so good at a couple of different things, and we are very similar in how we have communicated in the past. We are also very similar because we have a lot of the same hurts, right? So it's kind of, I feel like it's been easy for us because we don't want to hurt each other how we've already been hurt. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that we've really kind of focused on. So first and foremost, I, from the beginning, remember as we were getting to know each other, the first couple of times where we did get into some arguments were were just because we were kind of both assuming that the other person wanted to be right.
Yeah.
And I think we also had both decided, even without really knowing that we were working on not being right, that we actually didn't want to be right with each other. Like that was part of one of the reasons how we wanted to be different. And I remember like our first little argument, I was like, I mean, I guess you just don't know me at all. And you were like, no, I really don't. But like we're both so ride or die. We're both so we just like say it how it is. We do share our feelings with each other. There are some things that you've told me that I can guarantee most men have never told the love of their life or whatever. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, like I just appreciate that so much. So with communication, I think also just comes honesty, even if it's something that's obviously like hard to talk about, it's important, especially as you're getting to know each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, if you can't have that level of honesty with your significant other, then you have to ask yourself, where are you truly in the relationship?
Or
right?
with yourself.
Yeah. And the reason why that's important is because if I'm sharing something with you, I'm not sharing it with you because I'm telling you, this is how I am and it's always going to be that way. No, I'm sharing it with you to tell you that like, this is where I struggle and this is where I need your help.
Yeah.
I know that you have the capabilities of helping me to become a better man, right? Yeah. And so with that, I want to share certain things with you that I know that as a woman, you can help me become a better man in, right? Because guys giving me advice on that side are just going to get the male perspective, right? But hearing the female perspective also helps. Hearing how some of the things I've shared with you made you a little nervous actually helps me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, man, I guess, I have to do a better job at showing, displaying more self-control in these areas or, or what I say or what I do in these areas, right? Because I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah.
But you've been honest enough to share that with me, right? So like we're having this really valuable exchange that now is softening your heart to the fact that I'm being super transparent with you.
Yeah.
But then you're also providing an exchange in return that's helping to invoke a change in me.
Yeah.
Right. And so like it's really cool how it just reciprocates. And that's how you grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just been like unbelievable because the other thing is I never want you to not share the things, and one big thing I think for us is that, again, neither one of us is here to be right. We did really, even though we were saying that, we really had to prove it. Right. And so we both know now, like we've proven to each other like that. Okay. Look, I'm not here to be right. In the past, before you, I was going to be right.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. Like I was right. And so that's been cool for me. Another big thing, I know I briefly mentioned it even like last week, is just like me watching my mouth. I was really good at shutting anybody down, no matter what. Like you weren't going to win with me in an argument. If you said something sideways to me, like you would know it, you would feel it. I would crush you. And so I haven't done that. There was only one thing that you said a couple of times to me that really triggered me. And I was like, don't say that to me anymore. Yeah. Like, don't. Or sometimes we were also both really good at being defensive, and we're really learning to not do that. And so if one of us says something the wrong way, we're also very comfortable with being like, don't talk to me like that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I want you to tell me how you're feeling, but that's triggering to me. And that's so important too, because I feel like people teach each other exactly how to communicate or respond or bring something to the forefront from the jump. And most people, a lot of people I know, and how I used to be is like, if I tried to come to somebody the first time and they didn't take my feelings into consideration, then I was done. Yeah. After the first time. Yeah. Like I was like, all right, you clearly don't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's been really awesome, like for me in particular, to like really give a lot of grace, be very patient. And because of that, I see you. First of all, just from the beginning of us meeting, I really saw you like really trying to know and understand me. And I've never had anybody do that. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm pretty me, and you know what I mean? But like, there's a lot of me, and you really have taken the time to know me and to listen to me and to say when I'm hurt, like your feelings do matter, you know? And so that's.
Yeah. And I think it's just, you know, paying attention.
Yeah.
Right. To even your responses, even if you don't tell me, don't talk to me like this or what have you, your response is what I need to pay attention to. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Me over here crying, which is still so weird for me.
So like, I got to pay attention to the responses. And I think that it's a natural thing. In the beginning, things were a little more tense, and then they start to kind of, you know, fade out in that with regards to the tension.
Yeah.
Because even though you're like, you know, what were you saying? You know, I don't want to, I'm not trying to win, you know, but you can tell me that all you want. After 3 months of knowing each other, I still don't know you that well. Right. So so you could tell me all you want. You're not trying to win.
Actions speak louder than words.
Right. So therefore, you know, I still might tend to challenge, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Right. And so now when I bring something to your attention, I know, right, like this is something that's different for me. And I mean, I guess this is how it should be with all people. Yeah. But I've learned this with you, right? That I know that if I'm going to bring something to your attention, I have to expect a little bit of pushback, a response from it. It's only fair, right? Yeah. I shouldn't be able to, this is how I feel about this, and then you be like, okay, I'll do whatever you say.
But some people do.
Yeah, in our minds and hearts, that's how we wish it would be, right? But it's not. But it's not.
And both of us probably did kind of have it that way before.
Yeah, you know, I mean, because they just didn't want to argue with us. Yeah. They were tired of it, right? We would never let anybody get a word in edgewise. And so at the end of the day, it accomplishes nothing. Yeah. Right? So now when I bring something to your attention, I already bring it knowing, right, that it might spark a little bit of tension, but I'm okay with that because we know now how to navigate through the tension, right? When you're bringing something to somebody's attention that is hard for them to hear, what do you expect is going to happen, right? Yeah. And so as just mature adults, right, it's how I deliver it. I'm not trying to deliver it in a manner that's super offensive,
which you've been so much better at your delivery.
Because I'm awful at that. Even with people I don't know, some people are like, "Dang man, did you have to talk to old boy that way?" And I'm like, "How?" You know what I mean? Like I just don't realize it sometimes. Yeah. So I do have to do better at that. And so now I'm taking time to like think about it, right?
And when you say like you expect kind of kickback, that's where I say like, but I'm not trying to be right. Yeah. And oftentimes, even just the other day, you were like, oh my gosh, I was worried that you thought I was too harsh or whatever. And I'm like, no, again, like I've now taught you that it's a safe place for you to tell me what you actually feel or what you need, and vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that only two people who are involved with each other in an intimate way, that can be accomplished in any relationship. I thought it was impossible, but it's obvious that it's not. So
yeah, we just found each other in the right time, and we stay in God's presence, and that's important to us.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay. Also, so we are starting. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Premarital counseling this week, which is super exciting. And we did have a big conversation the other day, so I did think it was a proper time maybe to talk about that too. And I think this has to do with I was going to have you talk about the difference of like dating, courtship, and then marriage in a godly relationship. And so one of the things I did say the other day is a lot of times we'll say like, oh yeah, we really need to pray over this. But it really ended up being like Jay was over here praying about it and Steph was over here praying about it. And we weren't doing a good job about praying about things together.
We weren't doing it at all.
Yeah. And then I started to feel like, I'm trusting timing and all of these things, but I'm also feeling a little bit like Jay is praying about the situation. And then that's kind of how it goes because I'm also, so willing to do whatever for us, Right. So anyways, I feel like that's but that now is the proper time for that to be happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was the proper time for you to be praying and for me to be praying on our own.
Yeah, and I think that was a big aha moment for me when we had that conversation. Because if we're to be making life choices, right, life-altering choices together, then we need to be praying about them together, right? And I automatically resort to, well, I'll pray about it, you know what I mean? And so you were just kind of like, well, yeah, you're gonna pray about it for for what? But like, there's us other people involved too,
right.
And so like I'm like, ooh. And so when you brought that to my attention, right, I'm like, man, that's a habit, right, that I have to really get out of, especially going into this relationship and when we get married, like it's no longer just Jay prays about it, right? And while I think I'm doing the right thing, right, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm this holy guy, I'm going to pray about things.
Yeah.
If it is a situation that involves us and our family, then no, we need to take it to the Lord, right? And so we came to the conclusion that if we take something to God together in prayer,
right,
then regardless of the outcome, neither of us is able to say, well, I did this because you wanted to do it, or vice versa, right? We can both literally say, we prayed about it, we went to God, and this is where we ended up, so this is where God wants us, right? And nobody then is able to point the finger or feel like they're being a doormat, right? And so I thought that was really wise. And it was just
I'm pretty wise.
Yeah, you are. It was a great revelation. And again, it's just, listen, I'm very naturally selfish. I am. And I mean, I've known that all my life, right? So it's always,
but that's a protective part.
Yeah, and probably, yeah.
So, and again, I've seen just so many ways of you. Okay, so this is next on my little list, like of dying to self. People don't understand what that means. So it was a little bit of a hard conversation, and how the conversation came up is it was because of, it was like an instance that we've talked about and, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, we'll pray about it. But again, that meant you'll pray about it. And then I'm over here. And I think what can happen when that happens is you can sway what you think you're hearing from the Lord when you're the only one praying on it, when it affects everybody. Or you can miss what God is saying. But anyways, it just, again, that was like what I thought was going to be a really hard conversation to have. And then just seeing how you reacted to it, and actually how you've been even more since. I feel like you actually feel like, oh gosh, this is great. Because you were saying, and you just said it again, like, then neither one of us feels like we're giving anything up. And I really had to tell you again, it's not about, I'm never losing if it's for us. And that is something that I know you're working on and everything. Or like when we do talk, early on, you realized that like, I'm a really glass super full and you were not. When we first met, you were like, nah, bro, like everything in the world is, whatever. Like you love Jesus and all of that, but you just really were like, no, I mean, people are going to fight. It's just, you know what I mean? And like, it would always be like, okay, well, we can agree to disagree. And I'm like, no, like, let's agree to agree with God as the center. We're going to agree to agree, So like, so far, I don't feel like either one of us has ever felt like, oh, well, I just gave in for him, or, oh, I don't think that that's happened yet. But now that we've had that conversation, we know moving forward that it won't.
Right. And I mean, yeah, I would have to agree. And in that particular situation, the what you were sharing with me and communicating with me felt like you were feeling stepped on.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I don't want you to feel that way.
Yeah.
Right. But I also, was pretty like strong in my stance with like, this is what we've talked about already. You know what I mean?
That's the J way.
And so, which is an expectation. If you're like, well, yeah, I agree to that, then that's my expectation. Right. But then you started bringing up other things that made sense and that are, really, 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 things sometimes change.
Yeah.
Right. And whether or not we're expecting that change, I'm not afraid of change. It's that's something I'm not afraid of. But you also know that I don't do well when I already have an expectation set and then now it's switched. And the situation was you actually put it in my mind that maybe that expectation was different. And I hate to say expectation.
you also say expectation, but it just kind of was like one day you said, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what the thing is as long as our family is where our family is or whatever. So that's another thing that and these are all things that I love seeing you, like how you received it. And it did make sense. And I wasn't feeling like a doormat yet, but I was like, I'm about to.
Yeah.
If you continue to just pray for Jay and I continue to just pray for me, then we're missing the mark of how we're supposed to communicate and pray.
Absolutely. And I believe that this is how the communication is going to be moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Because again, I know that you don't like to disagree, but here's why we come to agreements.
Right.
Because we initially disagreed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's how you come to an agreement.
Or we assume
right.
we disagreed.
Or we really do,
Yeah.
right? Until we talk it through,
Yeah.
right? So instead of agreeing to disagree, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. It's we both disagree, but we're not agreeing to disagree. Let's go ahead and work through this so that we can agree, right? And sometimes it comes by way of a compromise, which compromise means both of you lose a little bit to gain a lot. Or sometimes it comes by way of just saying, you know what? It really wasn't as serious to me as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we can do it this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so like a lot of times it just takes talking through it. It takes listening as well though, right? It takes for me to really listen to where you're coming from and for you to really listen to where I'm coming from despite what you want, despite what I want, right?
Yeah.
So that way we can then bring all of those needs to the table and then develop an agreement based on, everybody's needs, not so much the wants, but the needs, right?
Needs.
And that's where I'm starting to kind of really realize, especially because my son is grown, right? He's already on his own. I mean, but yet you still have, AJ who's 10 and like now I'm
But your grown son still loves
absolutely
all of this. Yeah.
But I'm going back into a situation now where it's not just I'm not just making decisions for Jay, where I have made just decisions for Jay for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, now we're taking decisions, your feelings into consideration and AJ's, right? So like if I'm accepting that assignment from the Lord, right, then I have to fully accept it, right? And which means doing certain things that are outside of the J way, right?
And you're really good at outside of the J way.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's this past year has taught me how to
but you also
re-enter into that phase of my life.
Yeah. Or it's a whole new phase because you're also doing all of this and the things for AJ and Josh that you've never done before.
Yeah.
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 It's a beautiful thing to watch.
Oh, well,
and I thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so you're a really good teacher of the Bible. And so do you want to just go ahead and first talk about like that difference? Like what it looks like, even though we're in our mid-40s, what is the difference between dating, courtship, moving into marriage? Yeah. Start there.
Well, first and foremost, if I had to do it all over again with you, I would do it 1,000 times over again.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible journey and experience. So thank you for that. The Bible,
and the same way.
Yeah. Same way.
Yeah.
Same way.
Yeah.
And I think and this is the reason why I would do it all over again with you, right? But, unfortunately, the Bible doesn't talk about dating.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't a practice. It wasn't something that people did back then. That's more of a modern day type of thing, right?
Sure.
Either marriages were arranged or, things were just done differently. So when you go to the Bible for counsel regarding dating, there really aren't any, points for us there.
Sure.
Right. So what we have to do is we have to develop what dating looks like based off of godly principles. Okay. So obviously, the purity aspects, right? Obviously going to
which means
a lot of things, to be honest with you. I mean, purity, no sex before marriage.
Yeah.
But I think also, in every other aspect, if you're a man that suffers from pornography or a female that suffers from the use of pornography.
We both, used to watch porn.
Absolutely. So purity, it, comes by way of that as well, right? And like you said, prefacing this, dying to self.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you become the most pure, when you carry your cross every day.
Yeah.
Right? And so...
Which means being selfless. Which
absolutely.
means thinking of the other person and everyone else involved. And
you are no longer living for you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a challenging concept to really grasp and accept in the dating process.
Sure.
Right.
And it's a little like you shouldn't fully be doing that in the dating process. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You need to allow some space there.
Yeah.
You need to allow some room and some margin
Yeah.
for growth. Right. It's kind of like it's an entity. You have to look at, that's a really good, you have to look at your relationship as an entity.
Yeah.
All right.
And
it's a
you
living
taught
thing.
me that.
Yeah,
like
it's a living
I was
thing.
like, oh, we're just getting married and we're great and this is going, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you were
Yeah.
like when you made, it was a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much exactly. And you were like, I'm really sorry, but like we have to slow down. And I was crushed for like a couple days.
Yeah.
But also I was like, yeah, dude, like one of us is packing up and trying to go here and
Yeah.
moving and up. And it was so much, but it was getting like a codependency, which was weird for both of us.
Yeah.
Because we're both actually very independent people. But yeah, okay, sorry.
Well, Pastor Tommy made a reference several months ago in one of his messages, and he said that adobo is a really good seasoning.
Yeah.
But you put too much of it
Yeah.
on anything, it will mess up the meal.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same with dating.
Yeah.
Okay, you do too much too soon.
Yeah.
Now you just overloaded the meal. You messed it up. Right. You got to let it breathe.
Yeah.
You've got to let it breathe. You got to let it expand and contract, expand and contract.
Yeah.
And so we didn't really allow for that. I would say mutually we didn't in the beginning. We were just so infatuated with one another, and it grew to obviously becoming true love. But I do believe that early on, we were just so excited to meet people that we connected with in this way, right? Like I've never met anyone like you. You've never met anyone like me. And so we just really we saw our compatibility immediately.
Yeah.
And that was exciting. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to do all the things together. It was almost like step brothers when they realized they actually liked each other. You know what I mean? Like, did we just realize, are we best friends?
And I like never let go of you. Well, one of my favorite ever. This was since I was a little girl, like just in my mind, it always was like, hold my hand and tell me I'm pretty.
Yeah.
So it was like, not only did you tell me not only did you hold my hand, but you, the ways that you protect me, I don't even know if you realize like how protective you are without even like making it known. I don't know if that's if that's understandable, but like obviously being a gentleman and like making sure I'm on the inside of the sidewalk, but just everywhere. Like just if we're anywhere and we're not holding hands, you like tap me. You know what I mean? Like, or in the car, like it's like a quick tap, like give me your hand, but also it wasn't just about you like telling me that I was pretty. Like you would just look into me. Like I would send my sister, like we would do these cute little videos all the time, like even like a week in, and I was like, look at how I look at him. And she'd be like, no, dude, look at how he looks at you. I'm like, I know how he looks at me. But I also knew like, I've never seen anybody the way I see. I'm going to cry. Like, I've never seen anybody the way I see you or been able to like look into someone's eyes like that, especially so soon. And it's just wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course, having those feelings so soon, right? We did overload.
Yeah.
We really did. And it started to become
Let's work
a lot.
together every day. Let's work out together every day.
It was just, and not to say that, I don't ever want to do that, but I do believe that there is a right way of doing that. And so we didn't allow for that. And it started to create tension. Yeah. Right. It started to create tension. It started to create a discomfort. It started to create just feelings that I did not want to feel. Yeah. And I knew that it wasn't that I really felt those things. Yeah. I knew that we had to make some adjustments. Yeah. Right. And so once we made those adjustments, it was like crazy. It was like our relationship just kind of grew tenfold in a sense. Right. and it was more me than you. Right. Like you were more open to everything, where I was just much more guarded, right? And we talked about this in the last episode,
which is good.
Yeah. But we talked about this in the last. You were ready before I was, in a sense, to enter into a relationship.
But also,
seriously.
you were the one that was like, so I mean, like,
I mean, I'm not saying
you were
that.
Like, I know I want you, and you're it, but I'm not quite, and that's great. And I again thank God for that, because like, think if we would have just been like, and a lot of people just also saw how great we were. And like from the jump, people are like, wait, you guys don't have sex? We'll talk about that in a second. And also like, why aren't you just married?
Yeah.
And, sometimes then after hearing that over and over again, I got a little in my bag or whatever, but also like, I'm so glad we're taking, I'm so glad that like, somebody even mentioned like, why does he let you struggle like that? I'm like, he doesn't let me struggle like that. It's my struggle right now. He's not my husband.
Yeah.
And me as the woman that I am and how I do figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. I want you to be able to see that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I that's a great point to bring up because, until you're engaged, right? It's really all the way until you're engaged.
Yeah.
There's a level of access that we should not have to each other, right? And granted, we have more access now than we did a year ago, and we'll have more access once we're engaged, and then obviously when we get married, right? And those are the steps. All that to say that those who are listening, and even us, we just have to trust the process.
Yeah.
Really trust the process. Dating is just that, right? You're not exclusive yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You met somebody that you like, right? You've agreed that, I think I want to hang out with this person more often, right? But at that point, still things could end.
Yeah.
Right. They could end. Now, when you get to the phase where like, I think I want to see, I don't want to see anybody else. I've hung out with this person, twice a week for the last 2 months. And I really like their companionship. I really like the times that we spend with each other. I don't want to do this with anyone else, right? Now you enter into courting, right? And so in the courting phase, now you're really starting to think about what a future looks like, right? You're not married yet, but if you're courting somebody, if you're doing things biblically, then that's where the intention of marriage, that's where that seed is planted, right? Not so much in the dating phase, but in the courting phase, that's where that seed is actually planted, and that's where that seed begins to grow, right? And so now you have a little more access, right? Still staying
pure. And everyone sees that seed with us, right?
Yeah.
So like what's really cool is that everybody that's like in our life, like in church and whatever, like you're my husband and I'm your wife. Like that's it. Like everyone knows we're not married, but they're like, where's your husband?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is awesome. And it's just people, you can't make it up. Like I can look at a couple and know like they're not doing well, or you know what I mean? And so like we just exude that love for each other and the Lord. And we have really incredible people just like breathing and praying over that with and forth.
And I think that we're able to continue to exude that because we have, really analyzed where we're at relationally, right? And I think other people have as well, and if you just look at even in the church, right? We're going to the same church, but we were asked to do things separately. Yeah. Now we're asked to do things together. Yeah. Right. People see us as a couple already. They just already know it's Steph and Jay, Jay and Steph. You're not gonna get one without the other. And like you said, if I go to church, you're not there. People are like, "Yo, where's Steph at?" Yeah. You know what I mean? So it is. We're definitely a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
We're so cute.
Yeah.
I the matching. And look at everyone be like, oh, I love your chain. And the other one's like, oh, we match.
Yeah, we got matching chains. So we're courting right now. And I want to say that I'm really enjoying, like I have enjoyed, the courtship even more than the dating phase. Yeah. Because this was the area of our most growth, right? This was the area where I have grown the most. And I think because in the dating phase, there were still options if I guess for lack of better words, right? Like, if this doesn't work out, we're just done. What I mean? It's no big deal. I've been single before. Yeah. Now it's like, nah, this is definitely I'm gonna make this work out. You know what I mean? This is the woman I'm going to marry.
There isn't another
option. There isn't another option. It's almost, like that's already been taken off the table. And getting into that mindset now, right, is the preface to marriage. Right? Because if I'm able to adapt that mindset now, which is why when we disagree, we're not just gonna leave it at that. We're gonna figure this out. we're gonna figure this out. And so like we start doing those habits now, that's gonna carry over into our engagement, that's gonna carry into our marriage, and that's how we're gonna resolve issues while married. And so like I've never understood that. Right. In past relationships, if I got into a disagreement during the dating
to carry it out.
If I got into a disagreement during the dating or courtship phase, I was still the same old Jay. Well, screw you. You know what I mean? I talk to you when you feel like talking, because I'm good, right? I'm gonna do me. I've always been independent.
That was me too.
I didn't need anybody. You know what I mean? Like, well, peace out. Yeah, you'll be home alone while I'm in Vegas next weekend with my boys. You know, like that's just kind of how it was. Now, nah, bro. Like it's you know, and so when you carry that type of habit then into your marriage, what do you think is gonna change?
Yeah.
You know, nothing. So you got to start them now. So to those who are listening, you know, if you're in the phase of courtship, okay, or you think
courtship means,
or you think you're in the phase of courtship,
you've talked about like, I want to spend my life with you.
Yeah. In courtship, this is the person that you're now planning on marrying.
Yes.
Right. Planning on marrying. Again, anything can happen all the way up, but this is the person who you're planning on marrying. But a lot of people also, I did talk with a young man a few weeks back. And, you know, I was like, so talk to me about, you know, you and your girlfriend. And he was like, well, you know, we live together and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I said, so you gonna marry her? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah. Like, so why y'all living together? Yeah. Well, you know, and he's young, right? Just the way of the world. You know, they're in their early 20s. And after the conversation, you know, he had messaged me a few days later and said, you gave me a lot to think about. Yeah. You know, you gave me a lot to think about, because I was like, if you're not planning, or you don't know if you're gonna marry this girl, then why are you doing all of the married things already, right? If you're living together, I already know you're having sex. You're both splitting all the bills. You're basically married. So how you gonna sit there and tell me you don't know if you want to marry her when you're already basically married to her? So you have to make some decisions, right?
And you don't get the joy of, like, you know, like, I don't see you sometimes for 3 or 4 days, you know, and then you're already, like you're saying, you're doing all of life together, which means all of the stresses or whatever. Like, you know, you're not obviously able to, I shouldn't assume, but you're most likely not able to stand on your own 2 feet. And do you want to marry someone that can't stand on their own 2 feet? All of those things. And, you know, it's just most people really can't fathom why we don't live together, or why we try our hardest, and we're doing really good at it, to remain pure. Like, they don't understand. Even godly couples, you know, like, they're like, well, yeah, sin is sin, but I mean, like, sex is beautiful, and it is. And
well, they're not godly if they're saying that. But,
the Bible clearly says don't. And, you know, for us, like, the ways that we are falling so much deeper in love with each other by not having sex, of like falling in love with every part of each other, and also allowing for healing the parts like pornography, or like, you know, I was raped when I was 15 years old, and then automatically something is taken from you. So as a young girl then, and then like jumping right into drinking, and then every relationship I was in after that, you just assume like, oh, well, I've got to, you know, it was like, this is so dumb too. I used to always have this like 3-month rule, you know, like, okay, then I'm going to be so special, you know, to them if I wait 3 months. And how twisted is that too? But like, I wasn't taught purity. I didn't know what that meant.
Well, you know, I just thought of something as you were speaking, right? You were raped at 15. And then after that, just sex with your significant other, whoever you were dating or whatever, just normal.
Or not dating,
right? Just sex is normal, right? And I'm air quoting normal, right? When you decide to practice purity and wait until marriage, it gives you that back. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you get that back. You get that choice back, right? Like you didn't have a choice. You were raped. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so you just kind of just gave it away because it was already taken from you, right? Now that you have the ability to wait, it's almost like you have now regained that part of you that you lost. You regained that choice back. I'm able to heal that. Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, you are the person I've been praying for, knowing that was for me my entire life. And you love me and do all of these things and make all of these choices and heal and grow and do the work for me. Yeah. Without that.
Yeah. Yeah. And even as a man.
And it's hard.
It's very hard. It's a super
look,
challenge.
Y'all, look at us. I mean, come on. Like,
I mean, you know, how can I not want, right? But you know, even as a man though, I'm thinking about it too. Like when you just, I don't care who you are. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, you could be the biggest gigolo. You could be the biggest manhole on earth. All right.
Which you were.
and be proud of it.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, there's something that you're looking for. There's a
Right.
void you're trying to fill by doing that.
Yeah.
And the void is not that you want more people to sleep with.
Right.
The void is usually that you want the one person
Yeah.
to love you like nobody else has ever loved
Yeah.
you. Right. And so I'm speaking now to the guys out there who maybe went through their little man-hoe phase.
Or are still in it.
Or are still in it.
Or who are doing their girl dirty.
Oh,
Knowing she's the one. But I will say, like, a lot of times when dudes find the one, they freak out.
Yeah.
You kind of freaked out for a little bit
I
there.
did. I didn't go sleep around though.
No, well, right. You
But
knew
the
what-
old me
yeah.
would have.
Yeah.
So all that to say that, you know, when you're able to have that self-control, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to exercise that fruit of the spirit
Mm-hmm.
with regards to self-control and your purity, it gives you so much more than just, oh, I'm practicing abstinence.
Absolutely.
You know, it really fills you in a way that there's no way to explain it. You know, God knows what he's doing. When he instructs us, he instructs us for a very clear purpose, right?
And
I
it's
see
the
that now.
main thing
Absolutely.
of the Bible that you hear
Absolutely.
over and over and over and over
Absolutely.
and over and over and over again. And so, like, I shared a little bit about like how it's healing me. Like, how do you also feel like it heals you?
In terms of what? How what's healing me?
Just-
The purity part is
yeah.
healing me? Well, for one, I've always this is the honest to God's truth. I've always gotten everything I wanted.
Yeah.
Right? Even if I had to manipulate to get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Which as I've been reflecting a lot on that, you know, I'm doing the
Yeah.
whole Warrior Week thing and stuff. So a lot of those topics are things that come up, right? And so over the last week or so, that has actually been something I've been thinking a lot about. Like, you know, how have I been throughout my life? And I will say that, you know, getting what you want anytime you want at whatever the cost, okay, creates a false
It's
sense
unfulfilling.
of success.
Yeah.
It is you now have become a villain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not really the person God made you to be. You're this villain who's just out for self. So
Yeah.
you'll lie,
Yeah.
right? You'll cheat.
Yeah.
You'll do whatever you can to feel good, right? So this aspect of purity for me has actually brought me to this place where I've slowed down and I've actually enjoyed the journey of the delayed gratification.
Yeah.
You know, whereas before I thought that I would only enjoy having things that I wanted right when I wanted them.
Yeah.
Now I'm actually enjoying the journey of earning those things
Yeah.
much better, even earning the ability to have sex with you, right?
Yeah.
I can't have it till I'm married. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm you know, so I've got to go through that process, right?
Yeah.
And while
Teaching self-control, which then obviously also like rewires your brain, which is how you set boundaries and expectations now
Yeah.
that will carry into you. It's like, that's the promise. Like if like,
but it doesn't even help just with the relationship.
no,
It helps in every
I
aspect
think
of your life.
it
Yeah.
helps each
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
heal and get past all of those things.
And what I've noticed though is what I'm saying, that even this process of the self-control
Right.
has even helped like my work.
No, I
You know what
know.
I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to say, what's really cool about it too is you're actually teaching AJ a lot
Yeah.
about self-control. And so like maybe not even realizing, you know, so it really is again why it's such a huge thing that's talked about over and over and over and over again in the Bible is it really isn't just about sex. It's
Yeah.
about all of the other things that come from honoring that.
Yep, absolutely. So all that to say that, you know, there is strength in humility.
Yeah.
There's strength in self-control. There's strength in obedience. There's strength in patience, right? And
Different strength than we've ever known
than
or
we've ever known.
practiced.
I
Yeah.
think that this is why Jesus, you know, while seen as a lamb and a meek, you know, individual,
Yeah.
was also the strongest man to ever live,
Yeah.
right? Because of the self-control, patience, and
Yeah.
obedience that he displayed, right? And so if we are to live our lives that way,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we too can become very strong, right? We could become good, strong leaders. We could become good, strong wives in our families, good, strong husbands in our families, moms and fathers, brothers, sisters, neighbors in our communities, whatever it is, that's where the strength comes from. And I just want to share with people that if you have a challenge, right, with self-control and with delayed gratification, and that that's one of the things you struggle with, I encourage you to just talk to the Holy Spirit about it. Pray to God and
for someone that doesn't know what that means.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. If what I'm saying to you right now is making you feel like, man, that's me, I got to do a better job. Okay? That's called conviction.
Yeah.
Okay? And that conviction doesn't come from you.
Uh-huh.
All right? Conviction is placed in you from God, from the Holy Spirit. Okay? So because we're humans.
Yeah.
All right? If we had it our way, we'd have zero conviction, and this world would be a mess, right? It would be a complete. I mean, it is a mess.
Yeah, it'd be more mess.
It would be we'd be in a complete state of anarchy. Okay, but the reason why we're not is because, believe it or not, some people still have conviction.
Yeah, many people. Yeah,
and so therefore that's why. So for those of you who don't understand what that is, if what I'm saying is striking the desire to change in your heart, then you're being convicted. So I would just say, hey, God.
Yeah.
Show me what I need to do next. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, right? You don't have to pray a special way. Just talk to God and say, show me what I have to do next. And if you're not there yet, then it starts with just changing some habits.
Yeah.
Right? Show me your habits and you show me your soul.
Yeah.
And
your future and
your so start changing some habits. Slight habits. I mean, it could even be personal habits, right? Where you want to get on social media first thing in the morning, right? That's a instant gratification thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So start changing habits there. If you want to start having more self-control, more patience, then, restrict yourself from getting on Instagram or any social media until 10 a.m. And find something else to do during that time.
Most people are like, no.
Yeah, it's hard to do, but it's a habit, right? So start in those, and you'll find there's strength in that, man. There's strength in all of that.
Yeah. We both had done that about a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's, with having businesses online and all of that, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't really care about the numbers, but sometimes you get wrapped up in that or you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to miss a mess, and then you're missing the point. Like for us, it's like waking up, we very first text each other, clasp our hands, pray, in our separate homes and all those things. And then like do our devotionals and do all of those things. It's so important.
Yeah.
And if you give God that time and if you follow these rules, they're not put there to take away anything from you. In fact, like we just continue to see like the blessing over blessing over blessing over blessing over blessing. When you're talking about conviction, one of the things that convicted me the most was our pastor Christopher, who we're doing the premarital counseling with. And he scared me from the beginning.
Scares everyone.
Right? But he was like doing a sermon and he does not play. Like he's going to say it. And I appreciate that. That's the kind of church I want to go to. And anyways, he was saying like, look, you got to put there has to be boundaries. Because you're gonna fail otherwise. And so like he'd be like, look, 4 on the floor. And I was like, I'm not keeping 4 on the floor. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, man, what he was meaning, like all 4 of your legs on the floor. Don't be getting all wrapped up. And like, for us too, like if people are wondering, like, we have a lot of intimacy emotionally, physically, like whatever, but like we can't kiss, like we can't make out. Like we cannot, we start kissing and like, no, like, so we can't do that, and like we're really doing a good job. And, the further we get into it, the better we do. And we are not perfect. We have had sex and we do put things in place now so that we don't. But yeah, I mean, it's just all so worth it. Yeah.
And I remember, KB, the Christian rapper, when he was doing his podcast. Was it his either way, he was speaking at our church, and he said something that really stuck with me that day. He said, all of the things that are in the Bible that God says we shouldn't do are not there to restrict us from living. In fact, they're there so that we can live while enjoying all of the other things outside of that.
Yeah.
Right. And seriously, like when you think about it, right, those that, no sex before marriage, remain of sober mind, it's really just like a few things, right, that we shouldn't be doing according to the Bible, but that people have the biggest issue with.
Yeah.
What about the other millions of things that God hasn't put any boundaries on, right, that are out there for us to really enjoy?
Yeah.
Right. But we've gotten so wrapped up in wanting what it is we can't have in these few things, literally few things compared to the plethora of things that are out there for us. And that in itself, is enough to really throw somebody off.
And that's our testimony.
Yeah.
Why are we so different? We are sober.
Yep.
And we honor the Lord.
Yeah.
Like we honor the purity. We are of sober mind. We would never, ever, and we've proven it before our entire life. We've proven that you cannot effectively communicate.
Right.
You hold on to grudges, or you forget what you said or what they said. You go to bed angry. You say things you shouldn't say, or you do things you shouldn't do. You know what I mean? Like we have none of that.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, for the first time in your life, you know what I mean? And like what we're able then to show our children, your grown son, my young son, how, AJ sees us and Josh, like he knows what's going on with us too. The first time AJ ever saw us like in a disagreement, he was like, what is this? He's never seen that before, because before I'd be like, whatever. I don't even have anything to say. But I'm seeing us work through that, and how much actually confidence it gives him when he sees us having, he's like, are you guys arguing? And it's like, nobody, like, but we are we have, people have feelings, and people have deep hurts, and people have, hopes that somebody will come along and fill all of those gaps, and that's what we've done with each other. With the help of God and sobriety and purity and all of the things, like, and where it's like, oh, it takes work. Like we know it takes work, but it's actually very easy.
Yeah.
And getting easier, and some parts maybe are not as easy, but getting there.
And even the not easy parts.
Yeah.
Pastor Christopher shared with me some counsel once, and he said, most of the challenges in marriage have no solution or fix to them. A good marriage learns how to manage the challenges. That's it. So if you get good at managing the challenges, right, then you're good. Yeah. Because a lot of these things are, not fixable, right? I don't know, just an example. I have rheumatoid arthritis, right? So let's just say that, if it gets to the point where I can't do physical things with you guys like before, you know what I mean? Like, there's no solution to that. Yeah. Right. But there's a way to manage. But there's a way to manage it. Right. So things like that. Right. Personality differences. Yeah. Sometimes there's no. You are Steph and I'm Jay. You know what I mean? Which makes us special because we're different. Yeah. But with the difference comes things that, you know what I mean? Aren't going to always click. Yeah. Right. But we manage that, right? It's not about finding a solution. So I think that when you enter a relationship in that way as well, that's a really mature way of looking at it. Like, let's figure out what the solution is to this. Let's figure out how to best manage this, because I think it is wise, and intelligent even to understand that not everything has a solution. Yeah. I mean, it just is what it is. It's the way of the world. I think we'd like to think that. Yeah. Right? But not and everything so long
as you don't say we're going to disagree.
Yeah. We'll figure out a way. We'll find a way to manageably agree.
Yeah. I don't know why.
That's a trigger? Is that a trigger when I say I disagree?
It's not. I guess it's a trigger.
Yeah. It's obviously a trigger.
But I mean, it's just like, my like happy little world that I live in, and you live in a much happier world. Like I can't even remember now in the beginning, but it just was like, like no, like, and again, we've been taught these things, and so it's not wrong to think that way or whatever. But like, I was just adamant, you'll say it. Josh said, like, I'm the glimmer of hope and sunshine. I'm like Glenda the good witch of our family, you know, like I'm just like, everything's gonna be awesome, you know, and it is, you know, but
yeah, I mean, you need that, you know, you always need that one.
Yeah.
Right, that little sprinkle of glitter in family.
Yeah.
But no, and I think that, you know, for me, just going on the disagreement part, maybe because and this is really weird and bizarre, but I've always enjoyed when people disagreed with me.
Well,
because
but I did too, and maybe that's why it triggers me, because I don't want to win with you.
Yeah, but it's not about winning. Like I enjoy, you know what I mean, meaningful conversation.
Clearly, I do too.
So when somebody would be like, "Well, I disagree with you," I'd be like, "Oh, well, tell me more." You know what I mean? Why? Like, and it's so
you don't say.
Yeah, and so for me, like, I would just be excited that I'm entering into a great conversation.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I never looked at it that way.
When you do say that, and it triggers me, is when we have the best discussions and realize that we actually are on the exact same page. Well, we just said it a little differently or whatever.
But I've learned to now not say I disagree with you, and now I say, so what are you?
Said it 2 days ago.
What are you hoping to accomplish with that?
Yeah, which is awesome. Oh well, I thank you for that. Okay, so after all of that, what do we like? Maybe what is our prayer for everybody who's listening?
Yeah, it's good. And do you want to pray? Like, should we pray?
Yeah. Will you pray?
Yeah, I'll pray.
Okay.
But yeah, let's pray for people who are struggling right now in their relationship, whether they're married, whether they're engaged or dating, or, you know, whatever. If they're having some issues with communication. Yeah. Because, you know, God created the universe with words. And so that just goes to show how powerful words are. Yeah. Right? And so we need to understand that there is power in words in both positive ways and negative ways. Yeah. And
equally as important.
We
love to hear the good news.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that, you know, more people, while words were the catalyst for creation. Yeah. Right? We still don't put enough emphasis on how important it is to utilize words with each other. Yeah. No matter how hard it is. Yeah. Right. And a lot of it is avoidance. Okay. A lot of it is passive aggressive behavior. A lot of it
don't do that. That's one thing is we do not.
No, absolutely not. I'll knock you out.
Not.
Yeah, we don't go there. I don't deal with that. I'm like, bro, just tell me what you really want to say. I'm not into passive aggressiveness.
You've never had to say that to me, because you know what I. Yeah.
You know, and so you know, just a lot of avoidance, man, stonewalling, right? Oh, I know that's big, especially in marriages, because they think that, well, I'm not going to fight, so I'm just not going to talk, right? And now you've got, you know,
and stonewalling too is like your body language.
That's all of it. It's all of it. You're
like, don't roll your eyes. We don't do that.
You completely ignore each other in the same room while you're with your kids.
Don't
you know,
act
stuff like that.
You
I've done all of those things. It's awful.
Too.
It's awful. And so I just want to say to those of you listening that, you know, let's make it a point here in 2024, because it's still early in the year, right? Yeah. Make that one of the habits you change, right? Work on your communication. Work on having the hard conversations, but also work on listening more. Yeah. Right? Because that's what communication is. It's not just talking, it's listening. It's
more
an
so
exchange.
Listening. And maybe this is really good, just made me think about it, like, most people do their vision board or have their goals for the year or whatever. Like, if you're sitting here and listening and you did all of your stuff, but you never sat down with your partner to set your goals of your relationship or your family or the expectations or whatever, start over.
Amen.
Like, just go there first. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the biggest takeaway from all of this is that these things are free. Yeah. They cost nothing. Yeah. All right. It costs you nothing to have a relationship with somebody that the two of you communicate well, you manage disagreements well, and you come together and build very well. All of that is free, right? We're willing to pay.
Takes humility.
Absolutely.
Takes
We're willing to pay $3,000 for a matchmaker. If you guys were listening to the last episode, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. $3,000 for a matchmaker. People are spending $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 on these, therapists that they're going to so that they can have a better relationship with their wife or their husband. Just talk to your wife. Just talk to your husband. It don't cost anything.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be the prayer. The prayer is going to be for the listener here to enter into a season of good, transparent, pure communication.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. God,
this is where you hold hands.
Okay.
Okay,
you
sorry.
ready? You ready
I'm
for
ready.
me to start now? Okay. All right. God, we thank you so much for blessing us with this platform. We thank you for just giving us the topics to talk about, Lord, and the opportunity to glorify you, not only through these conversations, but through our relationship. And so, Father, as we're praying, we want to pray for those who are experiencing some challenges with communication, whether it be in their family, whether it be in their relationship, whether it be at work, no matter where. If they're just having an issue with communication with someone else, that you would just lift that spirit of silence from them, that you would lift that weight of not knowing what to say or how to say it, that would be lifted as well. And that they would be able to express their feelings in a manner that's liberating, yet uplifting to the person on the other side. God, we also pray for the ability to listen. Okay, because with speaking comes listening, and with communication comes an exchanged dialogue. And so, Father, we pray for that as well. We pray that each person that is working on their communication with one another, that they would be open to listening just as much as they are to talking, and that they would then apply what it is each other is sharing with one another, so that they can come to the appropriate conclusions and the solutions that they need in their relationship. We surrender this at your feet. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. Do us a solid and share this episode and tag @TheJMiranda and @Steph_view. Please also review us on whichever platform you're listening on so we can grow.
If you need our prayer, please reach out to us on Instagram. But ladies, don't be sliding into my man's DMs. And fellas, clearly I'm already taken.
Tune in next time.